Good evening, everyone, or good day, wherever you are in the world. My name is Lucy Gray, and I am the co-founder, along with Steve Hargadon, of the Global Education Conference. This is the 7th year that we've convened people online to talk about everything related to global education, and I'm really thrilled to bring to you tonight a project that I stumbled upon. And I think I read about it in a newsletter of some sort, and I want to say, now that I think about it, it was, there's a service called Clout, K-L-O-U-T, where you get news kind of, fed to you in a news feed, and it's related to Twitter, and in that news feed one day, I happened to be randomly looking at it, and I don't look at Clout very often. There was an article about the foundation that you're going to hear about tonight. And they have a remarkable story that's very inspirational and on so many levels. It involves students and teachers and community and so many more people, I think. And I think you guys are going to be very moved by it, particularly because of the climate here in the United States and around the world, I'm sure, because it's impacting everyone. That's going on right now, and I think this is something that we need to hear, and we need to feel about good about action and about the good that people do in the world. So, welcome to the Pages for Peace Foundation, if I have your collective name correct. There's a whole team here who are part of this tonight, and I'm going to kind of highlight a few of them, but they can also talk a little bit more about themselves. So let me pull up their bios here. I thought I had them ready to go, and they're in some tab somewhere. So there are 3 people who are highlighted, but there's, I think, a couple other people who are helping out tonight. So the first person that I talked to about this after I read that article is Anne. And Anne is a retired teacher from Groton, Massachusetts, and she is the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Pages for Peace Foundation. And she is going to tell us about her relationship with her teaching colleague and founder of this project, Betsy Sawyer. And along with her, we're going to have Diane Rapal, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly, who is advisor to the Peace Club at the Groton Dunstable Middle School and advisor to the Pages for Peace Foundation. And finally, joining us tonight too, we also have Susan Colt Wilcox, who's the president of this. And I think we also have assorted other people who are helping them tonight, so they may want to introduce them themselves. But I'm going to let them tell their story because they can best do that. And I just want to say we are so happy to have you here and can't wait to be inspired by you all and your work. So thank you very much for being here, and yell if you need anything. We're here to help you.
Thank you.
The one thing I forgot to do, I'm sorry, I got so excited that I forgot to say thank you to our sponsors really quickly. So thank you to our sponsors, VIF, Google for Education, TES, Iron, Chrome Warrior, and all these other people that you see who've supported us over the years. We just want to give them a shout out. One thing that we do, Anne, before we kick off every session, and I neglected to do right now, and then I'll turn it over to you, is we ask everybody to mark where they are in the world. And I'm going to give everybody whiteboard privileges in a second. And on the left-hand side of the whiteboard, you'll see a tool that looks like a star, and you can double-click on that and click where you are in the map tonight to give everybody an idea of your physical location. And in the chat, you may also want to tell us your actual location. I'm outside Chicago in a town called Northbrook, Illinois, in the United States, and it is 6:05 where I am, and it's pretty chilly outside. And we have Maria, who's been a big volunteer with us. She's from Santa Fe, Argentina. It looks like we've got a couple of South Americans. We've got somebody from Australia. We've got Amy, my friend Amy from Chicago. Glad to see you here, Amy. Go Cubs, yeah, that's the best thing we have going for us right now. And sorry, Red Sox fan. We're basking in the glory of a few months ago. We've got Jay from Mexico. Anybody else here? We've got Jay from Oklahoma. All right, Oklahoma's representing. RB is from Oklahoma. Great. So we've got, and who's from Australia in here? Is it Sue? Sue Wyatt? We've got Pennsylvania. All right. This is great. So the Pages for Peace Foundation are based in, the group is based in Massachusetts, and I'm going to let them take over. Welcome, everyone, and feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I will feed them to the panel at the end or whenever they're ready for them. But we'll let them take it from here. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. We're very honored to be able to present our project to the Global Educators Conference. The three of us have all been involved in the amazing big book Pages for Peace project for 12 years in different capacities, helping Betsy Sawyer, an inspirational teacher and our very dear friend, and her students create the biggest book in the world devoted to the topic of peace. Before we begin, we'd like to give you a little bit about our backgrounds and our connections with the project. Lucy gave you a little bit at first, and we're not really going to tell you too much more, but I'm Ann Pulaski, and I was one of the 5th grade middle school teachers who worked closely with Betsy and her students during the first 7 years of the project while we were teaching together. When I retired from teaching 5 years ago, I had much more time to devote to the project, and I'm currently the Vice President of the Pages for Peace Foundation, and I'm the educational liaison between the foundation and our schools. And I'll be doing the first part of our program in a few minutes.
Hi, my name is Susan Colt Wilcox, and I began my work with the Big Book Project first as a parent volunteer back in 2006. My daughter Amory had Betsy Sawyer as a 5th grade teacher and joined the Bookmakers and Dreamers Club when it very first began. Later, I helped create the Pages for Peace Foundation and sat on the board of directors as vice president from 2009 to 2015. Currently, I'm president of the Pages for Peace Foundation, and I've been involved with almost every aspect of the book's construction, design, and development. I will be doing the second part of the program.
Hi, my name is Diane Repaul, and I'm currently a 7th grade teacher here at Groton Dunstable Middle School. And I love spending time with students outside of a structured classroom setting. I'm involved in the plays here at school. I have lots of other outside interests. And the Peace Club has been a great fit for myself and students. And I'll be doing the third section of our session tonight.
So as you can see from our first slide, the book is really big. In fact, the book cover representation, which you can see here, became our project's logo. This is actually smaller than the real pages of the book. It was built for us years ago as an outdoor exhibit to showcase our project throughout our community. We truly wish Betsy Sawyer, our driving force behind this extraordinary peace project, could be telling you this story herself. But she passed away this year, shortly after the 12-year project was finally completed, after seeing it make its debut at the United Nations. It's really a privilege for us to share this compelling story with our international audience of educators and students. Betsy's real unfulfilled dream was to travel the world with a big book, promoting peace education, and we see this as a wonderful opportunity to help fulfill that goal of hers. The best way for us to share this project is for you to see the finished product. This slide is the actual inside cover of the book. The 4 pictures at the top of the cover page are taken from student artwork within the book. Each page of the book is an incredible 10 feet wide and 12 feet high. When the book is on display, it measures 20 feet across and 12 feet high. And really, truly is a stunning sight to see. Between the covers of the gigantic book are 1,076 pages with over 3,500 submissions about peace from people from all walks of life and all over the world. Students, educators, politicians, veterans, and senior citizens are all represented. Nobel Peace Laureates such as Nelson Mandela, President Jimmy Carter, the Dalai Lama, and have contributed, along with Dr. Helen Caldicott, Mother Teresa, Maya Angelou, Senator Ted Kennedy, and Pete Seeger, to name just a few. The collection of artwork and the photographs in this book are beautifully displayed, and truly every page is its own treasure. It takes two people to turn the pages, and during exhibits, everyone seems to be eager to take a turn, the adults and students alike. The book is displayed horizontally on an angled platform because of its size and its weight. The contents of the book are also exhibited on touchscreen kiosks that we have for viewers who want to see the whole book and take a faster look at all of its pages. Here are two sample pages that show different types of entries that bring the book's theme to life. Each page really has an identity of its own. Seeing pages like this in such a large size, it's almost unimaginable. We wish we had time to show you even more of the book. This slide shows some of the steps we have to take to exhibit the book. It's a really big process. The pages, bindings, and display platform weigh over a ton. The book has to be assembled each time it's exhibited, and the pages are rolled, stored, and travel in 36 massive tubes, each weighing 60 pounds. It's a lot of work. It takes a team of 6 people in 4 hours just to load the pages onto the binding, and it takes the same time to break down the exhibit. A book of this magnitude is really an inspiration all its own, but the story behind the making of the book brings real-life context to peace education. Our presentation will focus on telling the story of how an after-school 5th grade writing club, and here are the kids right there, that began in 2004 with just a handful of students hoping to make the biggest book in the world, evolved into a transformative peace education project, crossing all areas of the curriculum and empowering students to believe their actions could make a positive impact on the world. The students who started this effort are now 22 years old, and many have just graduated from college. So the students you saw on the slide before, here they are now. These students are still committed to the Pages of Peace project. It has remained a central part of their lives as they have matured from middle schoolers to adults, many dedicating their time and effort to working for peace endeavors. During this 12-year mission, hundreds of other students joined the club. Parents and community members became steadfast supporters. Businesses, universities, and global leaders all joined this effort. Now that you can envision the amazing book and you have a picture of it in your mind, we'd like to give you a better picture of Betsy Sawyer, a truly dedicated educator who is the guiding force behind this project. Betsy Sawyer came to teaching later in life after having a culinary career in her family's restaurant. While raising 3 children, she received her teaching degree and taught for a few years before coming to Groton-Dunstable Regional Middle School here in Groton, Massachusetts. She was a fifth grade English language arts teacher, and she came in 2004. It was the first year that all of the 5th grades were consolidated into the middle school, and Betsy decided to offer an after-school writing club to some of her students. About 7 10-year-olds, the one you saw on the slide previously, showed up, and she immediately bonded with them as they tried to determine a direction for the club. She believed that the kids should set their own goals and find their own voice in order for their writing to be authentic. That's something as educators we always talk about, but it's something that Betsy really did. When her students suggested trying to make the biggest book in the world and achieve a Guinness World Record, she got excited with them and encouraged them to try. Instead of looking at the difficulties this might present and dissuading them, together they moved forward trying to figure out how to do it, fully intent upon making it happen. As they brainstormed ideas for a topic, she counseled them to consider having big content, something that would have an impact. Betsy had recently attended a Jimmy Cliff concert, and she brought back a powerful message to her students. "It's up to us to teach the children about peace," she quoted the reggae musician. She said that Cliff had also asked his audience, "What have you done to promote peace lately?" This really stuck in her mind. Her students had been in first grade during the 9/11 attacks and were deeply affected by that event. As a young family of 3 from our town, including a 2-year-old, had lost their lives there. The students jumped on the theme of peace as the topic for their book, and from that moment on, Betsy never wavered in her commitment to her students, and they never gave up hope that they could accomplish their dream. What we didn't know about Betsy then became apparent every passing year as the Bookmakers and Dreamers Club worked to achieve their goal. Her strength of character was inspirational. She was the most inclusionary teacher, bringing any child into the Peacemaker group and mentoring them for years afterward. Every challenge was a new learning opportunity, and the dream never died. She wouldn't let it. Betsy was relentless, energetic, determined, and most of all, fun-loving. Her kids loved her. Whenever she hit a brick wall, she found a way to go around it, over it, and sometimes even through it. She weathered 3 changes in school principals and 5 changes in superintendents over the years, and taught us all that anything is possible if you believe in yourself and you never give up. Her belief in peace education and in her kids being able to make a difference gathered dedicated supporters and kept them throughout the years. Her mantra was, "Once a peacemaker, always a peacemaker." Betsy challenged her students to figure out what should make up the content of the book. And this is how the book really got started. They knew they had a lot to learn about peace, so they decided they wanted the book to be full of the thoughts of many other people about peace because they really didn't know much about it themselves. They had many issues to resolve first. To get a wide variety of responses, who should they write to? How should they frame their requests? What kinds of responses do they want? And what makes an interesting book? They decided to draft a letter to explain their mission, to make the biggest book in the world on the subject of peace, and then to share the messages of peace in museums and public places around the world. They stated they believed they could help make the world more peaceful tomorrow than it is today. Students also wrote personal introductory letters to accompany each request for submission. They crafted their letters carefully. Betsy taught them that, paying attention to language expression and grammar. They wanted the people receiving their letters to take them seriously. They wrote to their families, to community leaders, to dignitaries, educators, veterans, artists, writers, musicians, politicians, parents and grandparents, and to other students worldwide, asking them to respond to 5 questions. And these are the questions that they put in their letter. What is world peace? Would there ever be world peace? Where do you see the world in 20 years? What have you done to create peace in your lifetime? And most especially, what can kids do to help create a more peaceful world? They suggested a variety of responses: letters, essays, poems, artwork, songs, quotes, and even simple statements. The students had the personal freedom to write to the types of people who interested them, whether they were athletes or movie stars, relatives, or friends. The students researched living Nobel laureates and wrote to all of them. They learned about other world leaders and they wrote to them. Imagine the endless opportunities for teaching and learning just in this simple part of the process. A teacher at any level could certainly replicate a letter writing peace project and reap the benefits. The letters began pouring in. Betsy's mailbox became the topic of conversation in the teacher's room every day. She would be so excited as she would go there, and then the rest of us would be like, whoa, you've got that many letters? It was so exciting for the students to get responses, and each letter opened up opportunities for teachable moments and expanded the curriculum. As Betsy read them out loud to the club and also to her classroom students, they discussed the various perspectives of life experiences that the writers shared. They learned that world peace does not just mean an end to all wars. In order to achieve world peace, people must be given the chance to live their lives with dignity and security. Massachusetts Senator Ted Kennedy's letter to the students stressed that equality and mutual respect are the twin pillars of world peace. This message was one the students took to heart and referred to often in the years to come. Whenever a letter was received from a prominent person, Betsy always made sure to share it with her teammates and spread peace education to other classrooms. The students also discovered 5 consistent messages that came from people of all walks of life. They learned that in order to end violence and achieve world peace, all people need healthy food, adequate housing, education, health care, and meaningful jobs. The students researched what these needs really meant to the people in different areas of the world, and they often spent club time investigating and reporting back to the group. These 5 topics are ones that teachers can seamlessly integrate into many curriculum areas and foster a greater understanding of world peace efforts. The students also learned that many conflicts in the world are related to ethnic and religious intolerance. Former President Jimmy Carter wrote to our students and urged them to research the ongoing conflicts in the world and to map them. What shocking discoveries they made when they found that nearly 80 ongoing major conflicts and hundreds of other groups of people engaged in warlike activity. Students researched the geography of the places they learned about and kept an eye out for current events of the area. They really became accustomed to investigating the cultures of different countries and the backgrounds of the writers and the events that were developing around the world. Throughout the years, guest speakers were invited to visit the club, and students learned so much about their experiences. Some of the speakers included members from the organization September 11th, Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, an Israeli speaker from the Jewish Community Relations Council, the parent of a Bookmakers and Dreamers Club member who had been in the Israeli army, a gentleman from Cambodia who survived the Khmer Rouge, and women from Africa and Japan. These guest speakers really were not hard to find. In almost every classroom, there exists the possibility for cultural awareness. It's up to educators to seek out these opportunities and foster connections to promote peace education. The world became a smaller place as these speakers connected with our students. Their experiences heightened the desire for the kids to continue working for peace. The name Bookmakers and Dreamers Club became synonymous with the name Peace Club. Our exposure became out of this world when astronaut Joe Acaba, an uncle of a student in our school who knew about our project, offered to take one of our Bookmakers and Dreamers Club t-shirts with him on the Space Shuttle Discovery mission. He had the t-shirt signed by all the astronauts on the flight crew, And then he came to Groton for a special school-wide assembly that included a fantastic video with footage from the actual mission, from the launch, to the activities of the astronauts while in flight, as they floated weightlessly, to docking with the International Space Station. Can you imagine sharing our message of peace as far away as the International Space Station? Here's a picture of our t-shirt, and this is now in the trophy case in our school. And this assembly and this t-shirt brought heightened interest in space studies that really sparked a lot of imagination for the kids who are interested in space. In their quest for submissions, the students participated in speaking events in our community before groups like the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the Senior Center, and the Veterans Association. There they made one-to-one connections with others. Everywhere they went, they found people really willing to tell their stories and share their points of view, bringing many more submissions to the book. As students connected individually with people and shared their quest for a more peaceful world, the project became more and more focused, and the dream stayed alive throughout many years. Students who went on to high school were always interested in all of the Peace Club projects, and they were often mentoring new members. The students took on leadership roles in our schools, too, and they organized humanitarian efforts during global disasters and finding ways to help others in our own communities. Thank you.
As the Kids campaign expanded with each year of incoming fifth graders, it became apparent that this project was one that would take both time and expertise. Building the biggest book in the world became a mathematical and technical challenge. The students had figured out early on that in order to have a world's record, they wanted to make the pages of the book 10 feet by 12 feet, and for it to have 500 double-sided pages. They marked out the actual size of a page with tape on the floor of their classroom and began to pose questions that needed answers. How do you print a page that big? How many entries will it take to fill one page? What kind of paper or media should it be printed on? How much will it weigh? How much will it cost? Where do we get the money? Most people would stop right there, but not Betsy. More challenges equaled more opportunities for her kids to learn. Through networking opportunities, the students became connected with EFI and ViewTech, a manufacturer of grand format inkjet printers in Meredith, New Hampshire. Their representatives provided technical expertise for the project, as well as donated the huge volume of ink required to print the book. The club took multiple field trips to see their gigantic machines in action. The ViewTech staff also introduced the bookmakers and dreamers to Unigraphics of Woburn, Mass., one of New England's leading printing companies, who agreed to print the book. They traveled to their headquarters and watched as technicians demonstrated tests for the different print media, checking for tensile strength. It was ultimately determined that DuPont's Tyvek, often used in the building and construction trade, would work best as the media of choice. DuPont donated all of the paper for the book. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of material and labor were eventually donated to the project by these three companies, who believed in the promise of these kids and in the teacher for making a difference. By taking the kids to the companies, relationships were established that made believers out of the corporations. Betsy even had printers make a map of the world as large as a big book page that would be used to cover the floor of the club's peace room at school. The club has also partnered with UMass Lowell College of Engineering, where their students developed a prototype robotic automatic page turner that was 1/4 of the size needed for the finished project. This prototype was used as the basis for a proposed full-size page turner, which is still in development stage. Graduate students connected with the middle school students throughout the process. Our students went to see their workplace at the university, and their students would come to the club meetings to discuss the progress of the page turner, fostering heightened awareness and interest in engineering. UMass Lowell's engineering department continues to collaborate with us on the project and has built and paid for the binder and platform stand for our book. The staff assists us in assembling the book for displays at each exhibit. As the scope of the project became clearer, Betsy and a core group of parents and community volunteers who had been helping over the years started the Pages for Peace Foundation to help raise funds and handle all the legal and challenging steps that were needed before a page could even be sent out to print. They assisted students in every phase of design and development and in the completion of the pages for binding. When Joan Paley, an award-winning designer and illustrator of children's books, volunteered her time and expertise to help the students with the layout and design of the pages, another wonderful partnership was forged. There is no doubt that the book could not have been made without the commitment of these volunteers. Betsy's husband Charlie and their adult children and grandchildren were also steadfast supporters and devoted volunteers from the very beginning. A website was created to help promote the project, and interest kept growing as we entered the digital age. The students were featured in many newspapers, articles, TV, news reports, and magazines. As publicity for the Big Book Pages for Peace project spread, the students received an invitation to attend the United Nations International Day of Peace in September of 2008. Not only were they invited to attend the conference, but they were asked to speak and to present the Big Book Project for Peace to students worldwide. Students prepared a PowerPoint presentation, brought in 2 life-size sample pages from the book, and had 2 club members speak. The program opened up discussions, and they were able to exchange ideas with students from Sudan, Liberia, and Afghanistan through live video conferencing. Our students have been participating in yearly visits to the UN ever since then and have continually participated in the International Day of Peace. These field trips to New York City opened up so many more opportunities for them. They have met with college students at the Columbia University campus who are majoring in international peace studies, formed strong bonds with an ambassador, and made lifelong friendships with 9/11 responders from the FealGood Foundation. 9 members of the FealGood Foundation came to Groton and brought close to 100 letters written by 9/11 first responders to be included in the Big Book. John Field and his fellow responders spoke to our school and our community about the experiences following the events of September 11th, 2001. We hosted a parade in their honor, held a community dinner for them, exchanged gifts, and had a special dedication ceremony at the memorial site of the Hanson family in Groton who had lost their lives on September 11th. The FealGood Foundation is one of our major financial supporters, and their continued interest in our project and students has been amazing. Betsy kept her students involved every step of the way, and they loved fundraising, selling t-shirts, making and selling bracelets, having concerts. They were all full of ideas, and every year tried to add to the funds needed to get the book built. These fundraising projects help the students apply math skills and use them in real-world situations, all while having a lot of fun. They loved engaging with the public to explain why they were trying to raise money and build awareness of their peace project. As the project became more well-known, townspeople, staff, and students were curious to see the progress that everyone had made. The Bookmakers and Dreamers Club and the Pages for Peace Foundation held a first look at the book community gathering to showcase initial pages of the book and keep the interest high. Although there was still a long way to go, this successful event was exactly what was needed to keep the dream alive. As more and more years went by, the students' interest never waned in spite of the enormity of the task. It was just taking a lot longer than anyone had imagined. One highlight during those years was in June of 2010 when the Bookmakers and Dreamers Club was honored with the Courage of Conscience Award. This recognition was bestowed on Betsy and the student Peacemakers during a special ceremony at the Peace Abbey in Shoreburn, Massachusetts. The Peace Abbey honors individuals and organizations for their humanitarian and peace activism, along with local, grassroots, and unsung heroes of social change. Peace Abbey Director Louis Randa stated that he was awestruck by the club advisor Betsy Sawyer's courage and vision, saying that she stands as a beacon of hope for all of us.
In 2012, the students learned that the record for the biggest book in the world had already been broken, and that their book was not large enough to compete any longer. Although breaking the record was what motivated the students at the beginning of the process, it surprisingly was not a big disappointment. The book they were making had already earned many other citations and awards, and it would have a much bigger impact because it would be the biggest peace book in the world. They knew if kids could really make this happen, then they could really make a difference. By 2014, 10 years after the project began, the club finally had enough submissions. Although not all of the pages had been printed, much of the book was displayed at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Library in Boston at a gala fundraiser. It was a night of celebration and joy for Betsy, her students, their loyal supporters, and guests. The evening featured a video message from the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon praising the project, as well as a keynote speech by a former Ambassador Anwar Chowdhury from Bangladesh. This successful exhibit validated the hard work and dedication of Betsy's Peacemakers and launched the Big Book's unofficial world tour. 4 months later, in February of 2015, the students took a field trip to the UN. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon personally met with them in the General Assembly and offered his personal congratulations to each one of them for their impressive work. This was such an honor for the students, and from that moment on, a new dream took hold: to display the full book at the UN and truly be able to share the message of peace with citizens from around the world. Upon returning to Groton, Betsy mustered the energy of all the volunteers, supporters, and corporate sponsors, and a year later, the complete book was finally museum-ready for exhibit. Sadly, a few months earlier, Betsy had been diagnosed with leukemia, and she was gravely ill when the invitation to exhibit at the UN finally came. In what shouldn't have been a surprise to any of us, Betsy willed herself to live long enough to see her completed book on display on March 20th, 2016, at the UN International Day of Happiness Conference. She actually checked herself out of the hospital in the morning in New York City, on the morning of the event, to be able to be there with her beloved Peacemakers. Over 200 students, parents, and community members traveled from our town to the UN to celebrate this monumental achievement. The dream became a reality as Betsy and her original students addressed the assembly and proved that there is no limit to what a small group of dedicated people can do to promote a more peaceful world. 12 years of effort was rewarded that day, and there was so much appreciation and happiness in that room for Betsy and the Peacemakers as they took the stage. 2 weeks later, Betsy passed away, but her legacy continues as the Peace Club and Pages for Peace Foundation enter the second phase of the project, which is to share the message of peace worldwide. Now that the book is complete and the foundation directors are focused on places to exhibit it, our student peacemakers are even more determined to keep working for a more peaceful world. The Big Book project had become so much of Betsy's life that when she found out how ill she was and that she would no longer teach, she was more worried about her students and especially the Peace Club members than she was about herself. She could not envision the Peace Room or the project without the student peacemakers, because she truly believed that if we could make peacemakers of children, we would have a more peaceful world. The project was always student-driven, and the Peace Club kids were the heartbeat of the project. But the Peace Club needed a new advisor, and it was a daunting position for others to undertake. Betsy, the school, and the foundation were forever grateful when her colleague Diane Rapal offered to take on that responsibility. Diane is here to share how the Peace Club has continued to play a vital role in the project and in the community.
Stepping into the role of advisor, I wanted to make sure the students knew from the outset that the club would continue. Knowing Betsy was very ill, the first thing we did was to plan an assembly for the entire school to honor her and her family while she was still able to be with us. The students read poems, sang her favorite songs, and all got a chance to be with her at school. While this assembly and the months to follow were emotionally difficult for all of us, it helped us all to see that we could go through it together. One thing that has been crucial to the longevity of this club is that students believe their work is important. They don't want to just fill 90 minutes of their time after school. The focus is always on building peace, individually, as family and school members, as part of our communities and the greater world. The students are also setting their goals for the direction of the club and working to develop the ideas they come up with. Much like the original club members, they are empowered by taking ownership for this club, and they are excited to come to meetings each week. It is important for them to be ambassadors for peace, and a big part of their job is to promote the Big Book Pages for Peace project. When the book was displayed at the United Nations in March, we all traveled to New York and took part in the International Day of Happiness conference. The students proudly turned the pages of the book during the exhibit and told the story of the book individually to the guests there. The book has also been exhibited in our town, and the students continue to be part of each presentation as well as other events. Our town held a community celebration for Betsy Sawyer Day on the International Day of Peace this year, and our students planned a school-wide assembly as part of the events for the day. Many of them spoke at the assembly, and they also led a procession through town to the ceremony. The entire student body made pinwheels for peace in art classes, and the club proudly displayed them on our school grounds and at the ceremony. The club decorated peace stones as favors for the guests at the evening banquet in Betsy's honor, and student representatives from the Peace Club addressed the gathering there. Planning for this big event brought us all together right at the beginning of the school year. Although most of our current members were not born yet when the club first started, they understand the purpose of the book and the club members' intent upon connecting with other peace organizations all over the world to share the content of the big book. There were featured guest speakers at the annual meeting of the Watertown Citizens for Peace, Justice and the Environment last June, which brought the project many new interested supporters. Continuing to share the project with other peace groups also brings our students an awareness of the work of other organizations and connects us to a larger network of peacemakers. The students have also decided that it's important for them to work on developing their personal leadership skills. They have developed good presentation skills through membership in the club and are working towards furthering their relationship with other students. They hope to be role models for students in our own school as they develop leadership skills and work on their own personal growth. This year, the students have decided to focus on building peace through school and community service projects. They have begun work on making a peace garden in our school courtyard and are creating a peace mural on the walkways there, incorporating drawings, inspirational quotes, and messages from the Big Book. They have also begun painting doves around the central garden. They are dedicating the Peace Garden to the memory of Betsy Sawyer. The students are also actively researching service projects that would benefit our communities and will be deciding which ones to pursue. They are bursting with ideas and are not put off by challenges. The students are also especially interested in connecting with other schools to help them start peace clubs and to establish relationships with clubs that already exist. They are looking forward to using the internet to Skype with other students and are open to cooperating with other clubs on their projects. I am so encouraged by the goals the students have set for themselves. My role as advisor is to guide them in the process of working on these goals and to foster their personal and collective growth as peacemakers. We are so fortunate this year to have been given the opportunity of working with Drew Gentili, one of the founding members of the original group of students that developed the idea of the world's biggest peace book. Drew comes to the meetings each week and has brought enthusiasm, ideas, and activities for the students to become involved in. He has shared with the students how the story began and how they can continue their journey. Each week we begin our session with team building activity before moving on to the day's work. I have found a wealth of information available to peace educators on the internet to help us plan our time. As we work with these students each week, I am confident the second phase of the Big Book, Pages for Peace project, is on its way, and that we will find many ways to share the messages of peace with other students. We would like to thank the Global Education Conference for inviting us to share our story and our project with so many educators, and encourage you to connect with us. We hope that you will continue to teach peace at every opportunity, and that someday you'll be able to see the Big Book Pages for Peace in person. Our future plans do include a digital version of the book where others may be able to add even more messages to our pages of peace. May we all become better peacemakers and help carry the peace torch to all corners of this fragile earth. Thank you.
We're very open to taking questions from anyone, and
I can help moderate some of those a little bit. I guess I'll start with a question. This is an amazing project and really inspirational, and I love how it took on a life of its own, and it's a testimony to Betsy and the kind of person she was, clearly. We have lots of people in this community, this online space that we operate in, who would love to do something. I don't know what. Either replicate it or do something similar or connect to the Peace Club. Is there anything specifically that you guys can think of that others in our community could do to support you in your work? That would be helpful, a good place to start.
we would really love to have other schools and other teachers connect with Diane and our Peace Club. The kids are going to continue to carry this project forward. We're also very interested in displaying our book in different venues, and that's exciting for us too. We have a website teachers can go to, and also, or anyone in the GEC community, and send us a question or send us their information, and we'll be very happy to connect with them. We continue to try to raise funds. It's very expensive. As you can see, the book it's an enormous task to take the book anywhere, and so we're looking at other opportunities. We do have a few museums that are interested, and we continue to work on that. So we wanted to leave our page open here. Susan, did you have anything else to add to that? Our club is really where we would like the teachers to connect with the kids. Mm-hmm. Right, Diane?
Right. The students that we have are so excited about the opportunities, and that was one of the first things they mentioned this year, was that they really wanted to try to start peace clubs or give kids ideas to start peace clubs in their own schools. And so the more we are able to connect with other educators and student groups, the better I think it will be.
I'm thinking of two groups that if somebody's taking notes somewhere, that might be of interest to you. We had a Keynote project last year that was done by a teacher in Chicago named Carolyn Skibba, and her last name is Skibba, and a teacher, and she partnered with a woman outside of Chicago in the Hinsdale area named Mary Morgan Ryan, and they did a project called where the kids made a digital book called If You Learned Here, and it was modeled after a real book called If You Lived Here. And they had 75 classrooms around the world participating, and each of these classes created 2 pages in a digital book app called Book Creator, and sent it to Carolyn and Mary Morgan, and they I'll put the link in the chat, and they sent the pages to Mary Morgan and Carolyn, and they put the book together, and it was available for a free download. And so I'm wondering if there's a way for you guys to, obviously the big book is really the impressive feat and contains so many stories within the story that you can't replicate that digitally, but maybe if there's some way to do something, I don't know, maybe Carolyn and Mary Morgan would want to organize that with you or something. I think that might be awesome. And then there's somebody else I was thinking of too. I can see this being in a in the iBook format, you know, the multiple touch books, you know, from Apple easily.
Yep.
I think that would be that would be totally cool. Barbara, we have a participant that wants to say something. Barbara, should I give you the mic?
Hi, yes. As far as the digital component is concerned, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I was thinking it can't, irrespective of the size of the book, it can actually be done digitally and 3D, where it's not just a flat digital make of the book, but it can actually be extended in a 3D format digitally, and it can be shared on an interactive whiteboard with other members, be it, you know, within the region or internationally. So if that is a way that you would like to go, I would really like to see it that way. And I did put in the chat area, also like to see if it's possible for parts of the book to be, whether it would be done in Braille, if possible, for not just persons who can just read and see, but they can actually partake in it and experience it if they're visually impaired as well.
We do. It's interesting. We are in the process of trying to figure out all different kinds of formats to put our book in, and we have some, you know, certainly ideas to get it in a digital format, but also to make maybe even smaller versions of the book available with selected versions of it. There's so much. It took 12 years to make this big book that we're just still now trying to get ourselves back. And without Betsy, we're doing, it's kind of in a transition. We're in a transition here, and we are certainly not going to let this project die. And there's so many. The messages in the book are so inspirational. There's so many that's what we need, and we want to get out to people in as many different ways as we can. So all of these suggestions are wonderful, and we do have, we're working on now trying to put the book into other formats that we can share more easily.
Mm-hmm. And one of the hopes was just.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, with the digital format, with you know, with virtual reality, I'm seeing it going really big, and that it can be not just a duplicate in digital, but that where you have the reader being more immersive in the reading itself. So if that's a way that you would like to see it go, I would really like to be involved. If you could actually contact me, or, you know, see me through, I'd like to see it in that aspect as well, where you have the learners, the readers rather, being immersed into the book itself, being that it is a big book. I would really like to see it VR.
Could you please email us? Yeah. Are you Barbara Cotter? I'm trying to figure out which person who's speaking.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but one of the hopes was always to have kind of an interactive exhibit, so that if children were visiting the physical big book, then they could also digitally upload pages right then and there. You know, create a page or create a piece of artwork or some in response to what they're experiencing through the big book, and upload pages sort of right away in that interactive quality that you're talking about. People constantly being able to add to it.
One of the other things is that the book, just the sheer bigness of it, the fact that it actually got done, and it's just the physical manifestation that if kids in the small community and their teachers and their supporters could actually do this, that it's a physical manifestation then that peace is possible. That if, you know, so that's kind of what the big book represents. Our goals are to find a home actually for the book. We would love the book to be
an art piece
at
this point.
Permanently on display in the UN or in a museum where people visit all the time, and then to have all of these other types of ways that we can, there we go, that we can share the book in digital formats. But those are also big goals.
Okay, I think we've got lots of ideas here and maybe some connections going. And, you know, if you have more updates to share with us, you're always welcome to come to our online community and post there, and we'll help spread the word. We do this big convening once a year, but we have other smaller, other convenings here and there. So we're always, if we know about interesting things like this, we can spread the word for you. So we're really glad to have you here, and we're so glad we found you. And I hope some people follow up with you.
Yes, we are so glad we were found, and really, this is, you know, Betsy was so close to all of us, and we feel like she's right here in the room with us. Absolutely. Sharing. And the thing about this book is we could probably talk about it for 2 or 3 days on end, because this was just a drop in the bucket. But we are thankful that you reached out to us, and we really appreciate the opportunity you've given to share with a wider international audience.
Keep in mind, too, that when we're done with this session, it will be processed, and the recording will be available fairly quickly in the Blackboard format, in video format, and in audio format. And we have a Creative Commons license on the material, so anyone can download it and remix it or reuse it or post it anywhere. There's no limitations to it. And so we also we don't have the bandwidth to do it with everyone, but we do it for the keynotes. We put all the keynotes up on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll go into a collection of archived keynotes over the years, and you can do whatever you want with the recording too. You can put it up on your own YouTube channel if you wanted to. But what we've found, interestingly enough, is that people come back to the archives. They come to the recordings and dig through them and listen to them again. So we may have a fairly small audience here, but the recordings live on, and especially with colleges of education. Pre-service and in-service teachers are often directed to our archives or to listen to all this. So you may think that you're only presenting to a few of us, but we're a strong community and that has legs and tends to share often with each other. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Have a great evening, everyone, and there's another set of presentations coming up right after this, and I'll post the links in our front page chat. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone in Massachusetts, and we'll be in touch. Thanks.